I just think those guys are competing. You want to put them in situations where they're getting similar calls, and they're working with all the groups. So I've told the guys over and over, I think as we go through this season, since it'll be a long one, if you earn the right to play, you'll rotate. And that's just going to be how your performance is going to go through the whole season. So I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, this guy's here or there. I think it's constantly fluent, and I like that. It keeps a little edge to it, You got to make plays if you want to go out there with the first unit. So they're both doing a good job. I think, the biggest thing when you go through camp, you get installs. As they keep building, you have to keep combing through the early stuff. You can't have repeat offenders with mistakes. So the guys are doing a good job competing, and we've had a physical practice today, so it'll be good to get in there and see how it went. Well, they're both, obviously you look at their physical traits, extremely impressive with their size and how they move. Obviously, Sonny has a perspective coverage-wise, I think, coming from safety down to the box. The thing you had to work on with Sonny was just his footwork, getting him to slow down a little bit. He wanted to be so fast to go so often. You got to get him to really understand that you can't cross over in the box. You got to be able to shuffle and be slow till it's time to be fast. And CJ has this natural ability that when he blitzes, he can reduce the surface and he makes stuff happen, So they both have unique traits, both very talented, and they both want to be great. When you talk to them, they both want to learn. And so that's all you can appreciate as a coach, is they just want to get better.
That word consistency was used a lot with CJ over the last couple of years. Are you starting to see that? You mentioned earlier repeat offenders. Are you starting to see some consistency in the way CJ's playing?
Yeah, I think it's just no matter who it is, whether it's CJ or anybody in our room, if you want to be trusted, right? It's not just you're trying to prove it to me, you're trying to prove it to your boys next to you. You know what I mean? I remember when I played, I just wanted Malcolm to trust that I was going to be where I was supposed to be, when I was supposed to be there, and that's it. And so we preach that to everybody. I think CJ's doing a nice job so far this fall, and he's just got to keep going. It's got to be an everyday thing for all of our guys. You know what I mean? And I think at times, he would have a good day, and then he'd have a bad day where it'd be like, okay, we got to cut some certain things out. But so far, he's been locked in, and his attitude has been great. And see how today goes. You never know how practice truly really goes till you go watch the film. But he's been doing well so far.
Like what you said. Cody at this point as the Mike linebacker, but probably need more guys that can probably play in that role. As Gabe showed you over the last 9 months, that he can be a guy that you can maybe trust in that Mike linebacker spot.
Yeah, I think Gabe Powers has gotten a lot more confident. I'm always pushing Gabe. When you are the Mike linebacker in any scheme, you have to make the calls, right? You have to be the general on the field. And then if the D-line or if someone is out of position, it is your job to make it right. And so I'm constantly, it's not just Gabe, it's Arvell, it's the young guys. You got to be the general. You got to fix everything as a Mike. And that's the job description. Gabe's done a nice job. He's starting to kind of get more comfortable in that role of speaking up, being loud, demonstrative in those moments. Arvell Reese has done a nice job studying the playbook, really getting it down. Arvell's had a nice fall. So, I think the development behind Cody is coming along. And then I think, a guy who can handle multiple positions mentally is Peyton Pierce. I think Peyton has done a nice job, being at will, but he also understands conceptually kind of the defense. So he's doing a nice job as well. So it's been a good start trying to develop guys behind Cody.
What do you think about the length of the season, Drew? Sorry.
How far behind is Peyton after this spring physically?
He's not behind at all. He's not behind at all. Peyton's, there's some certain, maybe tweaks that to the defense that he hasn't, you got to feel and experience and stuff, But the thing you notice from day one with Peyton is that he was going to come downhill, and he's very natural in the box. Has an understanding for blocking schemes and how to fall back on certain gaps, and just a very natural, smart football player and tough. So he's a scrapper, not surprised. We knew that when you recruited him, coming out of Texas and being a wrestler background, but very smart, instinctual linebacker.
Like you said,
One of the things Jim mentioned about Sonny was sort of at the top of the learning curve, was really sort of acclimated well to linebacker. What are the things that you've seen him do over the last 4, 5, 6 months that have sort of enabled him to do that?
I think the thing with Sonny is that he wants to be great, so he wants to understand. He doesn't just ask a question about, what am I supposed to do? He wants to understand why. Why are you asking me to do this, right? So the way that he has grown, I think, from the spring is an example, right? It's like, hey, where do I fit on this blitz? Well, it's understanding where the line is slanting, where the blitz is coming from. So when you are in certain positions as a linebacker, everything's in phase. I got to send this back to my help, right? It's understanding that versus there's a growth in the level. It's always knowing what to do, right? How to do it, and then why are we doing it? Those are the 3 levels of learning it. I got to know what I'm doing, right? How to do the job, and then why are you asking me to do this job? I think Sonny has always been so inquisitive about all 3 of those things.
James, what have you seen from Garrett Stover so far? And he's someone maybe that can contribute right away on special teams.
Garrett can run. I can tell you that. Like, Garrett can run. I think sometimes you got to get him to just slow down. Can be a little spastic at times just with his feet, but he can. And when I think of Garrett Stover, if he's not on our kickoff unit, then that's a problem because he can fly, And so Garrett's doing well. There's a learning curve there with him, but I think the thing that I love about Garrett is he's tough, man. Those Stover boys are tough. So, but he's learning as well, and him and Peyton being roommates is a great thing because those guys are trying to get in the book, and so I think Garrett's going to have a role and somewhat on special teams.
James, it seems like every time we talk to you or Jim about CJ, you guys bring up the ability to blitz. Is that something that you would like to see more from your linebackers, or is that kind of making sure to mention that he's good at that? Where does he need to improve as a linebacker? You can't do that blitz all the time.
Yeah, I think for CJ is when the ball is snapped, just pulling your trigger, like using your ability and just going. So I think, you bring up the fact that he's a good blitzer because when you are telling him, hey, you're going here, he's very disruptive. And I think he's probably the best blitzer in our room. Arvell might have an argument with that. I'm sure Sonny wants to have an argument with that, but CJ just makes stuff happen when you send him, right? And so when it's a zone scheme, it's just trusting that, hey, you know what to do, just go, pull your trigger. You know what I mean? And I think CJ's gotten better at that this fall so far. And so it's just getting them to, when you play linebacker and the thing opens up, you got to trust, hey, I'm supposed to do this thing. If it closes, now find the ball. You know what I mean? And so it's just continually working with the guys. And he's not the only one where it's just pull your trigger and go. But CJ has a uncanny ability when he blitzes to make stuff happen.
It seems like you guys are talking about what CJ.
Guys, 2 more for James. He's got Travion Henderson at the.
How much of that comfort in being able to do that is just simply because he understands the system he's in now?
Yeah.
Versus where he was 2 years ago, where he's also trying to learn a new system along with everybody.
It's very hard as a linebacker in general, and this is any linebacker. When you are learning a system, you are trying to learn what am I doing, and if you don't know, stuff happens, set hut, you're not going to play fast. I mean, that was myself included when you're young. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. Once you know where you're supposed to do, what the alignments are, the adjustments, now I can diagnose what's the offense giving me. And then you can predict plays, you can anticipate. Because if you're reacting at linebacker, you're not going to be good enough. You got to be able to anticipate and know exactly where you're supposed to go. And so I think just the experience in the system has helped him, and it'll help everybody. The more you do it over and over and over and over, the game starts to slow down for you. Then you can go and make plays.
Who's the most complete linebacker in your room right now? Is it Cody?
It's Cody. Cody Simon. Cody Simon is a guy you could put at Tim, at Mike, at Will, at Sam. You can move them all around. He's the unquestioned leader of the group. He's the leader of the defense. Gets everybody lined up. Very technical. Has really good footwork. Really clean footwork, which allows him to change direction and get off blocks and tackle well. So I think Cody Simon is probably, if you said who's the most overall, LB, just because he can go anywhere and he can do anything for us.
So is the drive right now to bring those other guys up to that level? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are you giving a little bit if you put a guy in that has got a shortcoming but has a big upside stuff? How are you playing that as a coach?
They just got to play, man. They just got to play. And I think the more reps and the more you kind of move guys around, sometimes it'll be Cody and CJ, it'll be Cody and Sonny, it'll be Arvell and Sonny, it'll be Arvell and CJ, Gabe, and you're just moving guys around. For the first time today, Peyton got two reps at Mike. I just want to see how he'd handle it, because he's a guy that seems to understand conceptually what the scheme is. And so you're not just teaching a guy, hey, the Mike backer does this. It's like, okay, no, it's cover 3. There's a curl flat guy, hook, curl, curl flat. Who are those 4 pieces underneath, right? And then that way, if you put them at somewhere else, it's like, well, if I was here and now I'm here, can they figure it out? And because that's football. Sometimes the nickel's supposed to go to the boundary, sometimes he's not. Well, coach, he's supposed to go there. I don't care, we're linebackers, figure it out. Bump out, play the other. So it's always cross-training them, Tim. You're trying to, I don't want only the Will linebackers to know one technique and the Mike to know another technique. No, they got to know both. Because in our scheme, they're going to be put in both situations. I don't care maybe if the Mike only does this technique 10% of the time. Well, at 10%, you're at Ohio State. You got to execute it. I don't care if you only got 10%. You know what I mean? So it's the expectation is to know what you're doing.
Great, James. Thank you very much. I got to wrap him up.